wise, so embrace your dreams. Sometimes you gotta take a loss just to get the win. Like lots of simple popping it like oxygen when boxes wet. Focus on the mental, never lose like smooth instrumental. Better choose on the move and a pencil. Choose when I get to, never lose smooth on the move, but it's simple. Never give up if we winning it, maybe. We just keep winning, we conquering daily. Envision that pay me is never the
That's right. It's Tuesday. Happy Tuesday, everybody, from me and Bud here on Divots and Pivots on That Sports Podcast Network. And thanks to Golfer Gang as well on the audio airwaves. As always, we are brought to you by Acorn Hills, acornhillscode.com. Get over there. Use the discount code TBFY15 at checkout. Yes, I did it right. For your 15% discount code. 15% savings. See, and then I fucked it up there. That's all right. That's what we do here. We got Bud in the Wild tonight. If you're not watching, if you are listening to us on your Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple, whatever, Bud is outside. We got those for a bit last year every now and then. This is the first one this year, and this should be good.
Well, it's the season, man. It's finally, it's 70 degrees in Boston, which means everybody's outside. I was in the common earlier today, seeing an old friend who was in town for he's a cardiothoracic surgeon. And I just like saying that out loud because it's pretty fucking impressive what he does.
Yeah,
if you met him, you would just think that he was a dipshit golf guy like you and me who likes to quote movies and, play golf.
Yeah.
Talk sports and shit. So we were in the city today and every human was out there, sunning, walking their dog. It was the most stereotypical New England kind of day. We walked around, hit up Mike's Pastries in the North End,
nice.
Went to the pro shop at TD Garden, did a big loop, ate lunch at the Union Oyster House, and then just finished up down on Newberry Street, just walking up and down, taking in the sun, catching up. It was a great day. You were talking about just before we hopped in here, we're both girl dads, and I just heard you use a phrase basically, no, honey, no, that's fine. That's just for the house. That's just for being silly around the house. And I automatically knew exactly what you were talking about. I was like, you have a daughter? Yeah. I was like, okay. So we were like showing body parts or showing like tummies or whatever we do, but
belly buttons. Yeah.
My soon-to-be the intern comes home the other day, and first of all, she's wearing like a little tank top. She's gonna be 5 in July. She's wearing this little tank top, and we're like, "What'd that come from?" And she spilled something on herself at daycare, and I think it was just like a bar. And she basically yanked it down and flashed, mom.
Sure.
Showed, she's 5.
Yeah.
She's 5, right? She's probably going to come out here in a little bit after tubby time and say hi. So the intern does that. No, ma'am. That's not that. We don't do that. That's not okay. Not even at home. You don't show that to anybody. And she goes,
right.
Well, I did it at school, and we're like,
oh my god,
school is daycare, and I did it at school, and I'm in the kitchen avoiding this conversation like the plague. Dad have his own roles in and out, ducking, dodging, whatever, collateral damage. Mom, you're up, and so she's like, well, we just don't do that. She goes, well, I didn't show my teacher, and of course, Dad hears that and goes, good. It's 2025. Shit's crazy out there, and I don't need. Funny. Yeah, we don't need to be a Dateline special, and so we're like, good. She goes, you still don't do that. And she goes, well, I showed Ryan. He didn't mind, and I didn't know I said it out loud. I go, fuck's Ryan. Yeah. And I hear my mom, probably my mom over my shoulder, but my wife just reminded me, they're 5, it's daycare. And I'm like, I don't care. I want to know who Ryan is. Yeah. Listen, Ryan, we just need to have a chat
on my list.
That's fine. Do you spell that Ryan like a normal human? Like, or is it, are you some sort of new age Ryan? It's actually pronounced Ryan, but it's, spelled Qrie, and then the G is silent. Anyway,
oh god,
girls, keep your tops on. Life advice, dude. Lots of stuff going on in the world of golf. If you're still here 4 minutes in, this is a golf show. Welcome to Divots and Pivots.
Not a parenting show.
It's kind of like Joe Rogan, one of his stand-up bits when he was talking, looking back on the COVID stuff, and he's like, "If you're tuning into my show for medical advice," and he pauses, and he goes, "Is that my fault?"
It's the people who go into WebMD all day long and convince themselves they have 10 different versions of cancer. Like, that's not WebMD's fault.
So shout out my boy Whit, the doctor, aforementioned doctor I spent all day with. His biggest thing is get the fuck off the internet. He's like, go see your doctor or go call a doctor. He's like, even telehealth's better than WebMD. He's like, get out of there. He's like, that's like trying to say you're going to get a PhD by using Wikipedia as your main source. All right. So back to the golf.
Miserable.
We can go wherever. I honestly, this is one of those weekends where I don't know where you want to start. A lot of times there's some back and forth and some chatter. There's so much to choose from because I think we are in a part of the golf season that is a mile wide and not an inch deep. We're almost a yard in there. It's a good solid chunk. There's meaty golf everywhere, but let's be honest, we're in the in between of the major season. The majors are the waves, and we're just in that kind of lull in between. But good news for us, there's just fun, interesting shit kind of going on all over the place. So before we get started with anything professional or otherwise, huge update, and I can't believe I've been sitting on this a while. 1 week from today, we will know whether or not I qualified for the Massachusetts Open. So my tee time is. So you can find it on Golf Genius. I might be ballsy and just say, "Here, follow my score here and my story." I'm not gonna lie. I have some pretty solid hopes and dreams. Expectations are. I'd like to break 80. It's going to be a competitive day because Kernwood Country Club in Salem is pretty tough. This is the one that got me for 41 putts one year, and then and then it took me out the next. I was 1 over going into number 10, and I got a 9 on number 10 the next year. So overall, it's one of those, like, if I was a UFC fighter, I'm 0 for 2. But if you look at the round by round, it really is just a couple of big. I'm not that far off. I don't know about qualifying. I mean, this is the Mass Open. There's going to be guys out there who do this for a living or potentially will be doing this for a living. But for me, it's the beginning of the quest for the qualifier. I've got the Mass Open, the Mass Amateur, and the Mass Pub Links I'm signed up for. The Mass Open is always the earliest. And I think it's because let's get the riffraff out of here, right? Like, if you're truly good enough, if you're good enough, you're good enough and your game's there. Not like me, where who knows what we're going to get. I haven't gotten too much out there yet this season, but I'm looking forward to it because I did a lot of short game work over the weekend and my wedges are sharp. Putting is going to be sus. I think that's just going to be the kind of equalizer. I'm going to try to get out there a couple hours early and spend at least 1 hour on the putting green, just getting a feel for the pace and everything. I know the course. I've been looking at the wind maps. I downloaded the Windy app to see where it's coming and going on the peninsula there in Kernwood. And so kind of game planning out, and it's going to be a lot of drivers. My buddy Christian always said, he's like, dude, it's an asset. He's like, if it's your weapon, use it. Don't shy away from it. Be smart about it. There are holes where I'm going to hold back, probably 3 different holes, but everything else, it's pretty forgiving. And I just got this new driver, so we're going to let it rip and have a lot of fun. And I'll be reporting back next week, either with good news or lessons learned, so to speak. But the quest for the qualifier continues. Stay tuned for more.
So a couple questions to follow up on that story then.
Yeah.
First of all, so you said you want to shoot under 8. You'd like to shoot under 80. What was like the cut line last year to qualify? Like, is under 80 like, because you mentioned some of these guys
sniffing. I'm under 80. So. Under 80 just means that I can walk away with my head held high. There's gonna be guys going 3, 4, 5 under, and it's gonna be like the top. It's gonna be like the top 6 or 7. I think it's 10 in ties. I think go on, or 8 in ties go on.
So realistically, to go on, you're probably going to need to be around par.
Realistically, to go on, around par, probably under. I was about to say, and would I be shocked if it happened? No. I'm in a mental space now where if I'm 4 or 5 holes in and things are rolling, If I'm 4 or 5 holes in and I'm 3, 4 over, I know what I'm there for, and it's not to go fuck it. It's to hunker down and just try to swing every single shot. There's this Roger Federer interview. I think I've referenced this before. Jamie, see if you can pull up the Roger Federer commencement speech he gives. And it's a statistic he talks about, and he goes back to it where it's like he played 1,586 matches in his career or some shit like that. And he won 80% of them. And everybody's like, yeah, no shit, you're Roger Federer. Right. He goes, but if you look at the total number of points he played, he only won. He only won like 52% of them. Or 56% of them. And everybody's kind of like cocks their head to the side. And then he goes down this whole thing of like, in a world where you're going to lose every other point, you've got to build up the resilience. You've got to build up that, like, just whatever's next. You gotta, get up, look at the next point. You can't dwell on the last one. And it reminded me a lot of Brooks Koepka in an interview he gave, pretty recently. I want to say in the last year or so. And he talked about how he's a failure. And that's how he's gotten so much. He's like, you have to realize that golf's a game of failure. He goes, I am failing all but 18 swings. I'm failing. He goes, I'm trying to hit it in the hole every time. He's like, but I'm going to fail every single time. He goes, and you got to get good at failing. And it's such a weird mentality, but it's true. In golf, you're not physically getting beat up. It's just, it's a marathon of mental, anguish. We saw this with Rory in how he just let go of it all. So where I am mentally, I wouldn't be shocked if I was able to kind of get in there at 74, 73. It's a par 70. That's the other thing. So like breaking 80, I'm laughing because if I can't go out, if I can't just like roll out of bed and go make 12 pars, 13 pars, and 5 bogeys, 6 bogeys anywhere I go, then I really, really, really need to like take a pause and sharpen these knives if we're going to keep going. So it's going to be fun. Stay tuned for more.
So now you had sent me, and I was trying to just remind myself of where it came from, but we had shared a TikTok with each other this weekend where it was the handicaps for like Fat Perez, Matt Scharf.
Yeah.
From Good, Steven from Good, and Frankie Borrelli. Like, so, but I can't remember like why
fucking Frankie
that was
Borrelli.
like, if that was from a certain event that they were doing. What, anyways, it was basically the Creator Classic, not all of them, but like Good, Fat Perez. Like these are guys that
whoever created that little graphic, whoever created that little graphic just has a spreadsheet basically of all of these creators and their handicaps. Yeah.
And their handicaps. So after you saw those, like, do you feel more confident going into the Mass Open now that you saw that, knowing where you stand up against them?
Probably more so the mid-am and the amateur. I feel like on a good day in the right conditions, in the course that I'm going to play for the amateur qualifier, a friend of mine, he's like, he used to be the assistant pro out there. He grew up out there. We're going to do a walk and talk practice round, and he's going to help me prepare. And because he's played enough with me that he's not blowing smoke. And he's like, I've seen you even at your like mediocre. He's like, you could go out and shoot even 1 or 2 under there. He's like, if you would just get your head out of your ass. Like, he's one of those good friends. He doesn't congratulate me on a nice shot. He congratulates me on a nice putt. One of those guys. He's like, who gives a fuck about big drives and nice shots? He's like, can you score?
Right.
So the mass amateur and the mid amateur, I'm much more mentally kind of like, I should be able to put it all together and snag one of those. The pub links, I'm not going to take for granted, but it's the third time I've played this qualifier, this course. I know where these stumbling blocks are, and I'm kind of like, it really is just execution. And I squeaked in there last year after just fucking falling apart on the 17th hole. And I feel really good about it this year because I know I can get around there avoiding trouble. So no doubles, and I should be all right.
And that is kind of the key. Like we talk about all the time when it comes to rookies, amateurs, whatever, when they're in these events, it is about avoiding trouble because you got to take your opportunities where you can, but then you got to get around the course smart. It's just the way it is.
Perfect segues, because I will say there's 2 things. There's the Will Zalatoris thing about, going from an 18 to a 12 to a 5 and 5 to scratch. Right. It's a world of difference, and the biggest thing he always goes back to is eliminating doubles. And I spend so much time hitting 50 to 100 yard wedges. That's all I did today. I went out and after spending the day with my buddy in Boston, got back home. The roommate did daycare pickup, thank God. And she went, and it was so nice out. She let me go to the range and just knock 3 buckets. Nothing but I did 50 yards, 75 yards, 100 yards, because it has changed my game monumentally from a confidence standpoint. If I miss a fairway, I know I don't have to be a fucking hero. If there's a wide opening, that's one thing. But I'm not Rory McIlroy. I'm not whipping a 6-iron 210 around the trees like that, or a 7-iron.
Yeah, just put it back out into the fairway.
I'm gonna punch it low into those limbs so that I've got myself about 75 yards, because I know I'm very confident from those distances now. It feels like I'm just throwing darts, and then it's how many 5 to 10 footers can you make on a good day? So that was one thing that just chops the strokes right off. But the eliminating doubles, which makes me go back to Rory. And he had 4 doubles at the Masters. The only other guy to win with more than 2 was Craig Stadler, the year of our Lord 1982, the greatest year ever. It gave you yours truly. And he, the Walrus cranked out 3 dubs and the dub. And then Rory. I don't think we're appreciating this enough. the magnitude of what he accomplished in the circumstances, in that scenario, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We're not going to go backwards. I want to look forward. He's got the players. He's got the Masters. We've got the PGA at Quail Hollow, which is, of course, he's won 4 times at.
Right.
Oakmont, which is a course that he's won and been competitive at. I don't know if he's won there, but he's definitely been competitive. And then I think, does he have, where was his U.S. Open? Hey, Siri, where did Rory McIlroy win the U.S. Open?
We'll hear the answer live from Siri. Maybe not.
You ain't gonna hear shit.
Ain't gonna hear shit, apparently.
I don't. He won at Congressional. All right, so Oakmont. We'll see. It's one of the hardest fucking courses they play. Then they're back in Northern Ireland. Like he's from Northern Ireland. Portrush is like one of those. It'd be like me going back to the Sawgrass to play a tournament. It's like, ooh, been here before. Success. Why not toy around with the idea of the Rory Slam?
Oh, I'm still toying around with like one that I'd like to see it, and 2, I still think is very much in play. Like he's the key here is that we got to see him this week for the first time since the Masters at the Zurich.
Sure.
Him and Lowry did not defend. But
they contended, which was intense.
Exactly, it was the first time. I know it's different golf because it's partner golf, but it was the first time I get to see Rory, and it's not. I didn't get the impression that he's in this like post Masters hangover or anything like that. Like I think he's ready to go. I think he's going to continue to go. I think it's more so now the monkey's off his back. Like you should be scared of Rory. I think the Rory Slam is 100% in play here, and I'm rooting for it.
I want to see what the odds are for this because I might throw like $20 at the Rory Slam because I got a feeling that parlay would pay out massive now.
I can try as we're talking. I'll try.
See if you can figure out what happens if he sweeps the next 3 majors. Because if he did, and you throw in the players, that's the 5 biggest tournaments on the calendar. And yes, I know it's wildly unlikely. I think we're going to see Xander maybe sneak in there. Scotty wasn't too far off at Augusta. Colin Morikawa, we're sleeping on Colin. I could see Colin being competitive.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God, I got chugged a beer, and now I'm burping every 2 seconds. But the Rory Slam is something that I can't wait that we get to play with this for at least another 3 or 4 weeks, and then we have to move on to reality and hopefully talk about is Tiger going to come back this season. So
right.
Dang, dude, I got something stuck in my throat. I know what you got stuck in your throat. While you're looking up the Rory Slam and how slim those odds are, can we give Liv 60 good seconds?
No, actually, I want to because that's a good call because I don't know where you want to go with Liv, but I feel like Joaquin Niemann needs to be talked about. Were you going to do another angle? Because we can go your angle first because I'm still trying to put together this Rory Slam.
I mean, yeah, he needs to be talked about, but what way? I still can't wrap my head around how good he is because they play the same 60 guys and the conditions are different. They're not as championship tough and intense. And it doesn't mean that he won't catch lightning in a bottle. Because again, his craft is his craft. And if that craft is honed at that level, you can come in and out, in and out. What I would say is if he does sneak a major win, there's going to be an asterisk next to it because he doesn't come from one of the major tours. Ergo, he's kind of like an outsider. And some people would be, isn't that more impressive? No, I think he's taking kind of the easy way out in a sense. And that's just kind of low hanging fruit to be like Liv is not as competitive as the PGA Tour and have people be like, yeah, no shit. But I mean, he's won 3 of the 6 starts. So he's obviously the hottest golfer on Liv right now. He's tied Brooks Koepka with 5 wins. I think it's the most for anybody. He has secured the US Open through that new exemption that is going to go away as soon as Liv goes away, because outside of Adelaide, I think that fucking company is still hemorrhaging money. And so, what do you want to talk about Joaquin Niemann other than
you're kind of
pretty impressive guy?
You're kind of hinting at it is that he quite frankly is dominating Liv at the moment. But he also doesn't
dominating Liv for these guys.
But that's the exact point like that I'm kind of hinting at here is that, but he also doesn't have a top 15 in a major since he's gone to or ever actually. So it's like, it's okay to dominate Liv, but if you're not going to then show up when you actually are up against all the world's greatest, then does it matter? It doesn't matter. That's the way I view it.
I got it for you. What if Patrick Mahomes took just $1 billion contract with Arena League, like,
right.
What's his face? Bezos decides Amazon's going to make arena football the next thing because you can get more arenas, more of this, more teams. So we're just going to volume and we're going to just flood the market. So we're going to go get Patrick Mahomes, and all of a sudden he wins 5 consecutive arena titles and MVPs and all this kind of shit. Are we still is? I mean, now we know that the pure skill set is definitely still going to be among the elites. It's kind of like nobody's going to argue that John Rahm isn't one of the best golfers on the planet.
Yeah, but I still be enjoyable to watch running around in an arena. You know what I mean? Like that, the entertainment factor would be there, I'd say.
But I go to these. I go to these guys who think that they were the shine when that spotlight was on them, and it's like not really. It's kind of like some of these people, some of these independent sports folks who grow up at ESPN and then they go off and then they try to throw shade. They don't do the Dan Patrick route of just quietly kind of being like, I'm gonna go do my own thing. Don't get me wrong. He's opened up about his time there over the years and told some stories, but he was like, you know what, damn it, I'm going to branch out on my own. They told him, you're never going to make it without us, yada, yada, yada. And I mean, same thing happened here. The PGA Tour, everybody's like, they're never going to make it. They're never going to make it. And we'll still see if they make it and they survive. But Joaquin Neiman, I don't even know his name. Joaquin Neiman, John Rahm, Brooks Koepka, all these guys, they all got good and got good. Car run good. They all got good and famous in the PGA Tour, and then they picked up and they went somewhere else, and it's just not really translating. It doesn't mean they're not still talented. It's just the product's not there. So who gives a shit that he won?
It just means that wins on the PGA Tour are much more impressive, which is why you're able to get famous from it. Like that's what we've said. That's what it comes down to: history and impressiveness and entertainment. Like that's all. It's the package. You take something out of the package, all of a sudden, it's not worth as much.
Right. And, the other thing that I found interesting from Live this weekend. So Joaquin Neiman, welcome to the U.S. Open. I mean, he's fucking, and he's got an edge. He's got a chip on his shoulder because of guys like me, schmucks like me, throwing shade and with my opinions and what do I know and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Well, I'm your audience, buddy. And I'll tell you what, I didn't watch you this weekend. I watched a guy named Ben Griffin. That's what I was watching. But before I was at Ben Griffin, let's go back to Bryson real quick. Bryson was leading through both the first and second rounds down at Club de Chapultepec down in Mexico City for Live Mexico, where, if you go on the social medias, they did unveil the new Team Cabanas. Hey,
Team Cabanas?
Yeah, these little huts that look like they're spring break kind of cabanas that you can rent out, with like outdoor sofas and the pagodas that don't provide shade. I get what they're going for, but it's kind of like, who are you marketing to? Are you actually, is this supposed to be an entertainment or is it supposed to be high level championship golf?
They're still marketing towards the in-person experience and not a broadcast level experience, which is like,
it's because they can't get anybody to watch their broadcast.
That's what I mean, though. But that's where the mistake, because percentage-wise, the people who are going to watch it on TV or streaming, in their case, compared to in person, like they're just putting their focus in. They always have in the wrong place.
I will say this: I don't think the PGA Tour is going down to Mexico City this year. I think that might have been on the chopping block. I can't remember. But watching these guys drive 400, 460 yards, I do love that. With the it was fun to see Bryson's yardages on his social media where he's hitting like a 9-iron 210 on the range. Right. But it also brings up my next point. He was leading through the first 2 rounds and then he couldn't close. He shoots to even par. He's leading, he's up there in the first 3 rounds at the Masters and then he just falls apart. Is he suffering from the Brian Bros syndrome where that side of it, you're going out on the weekend, mucking it up with the boys in Augusta and walking around. I mean, good on you. Everybody relaxes in different ways, but I do think that there's a reason why certain championship behavior is consistent and there's certain kind of like universalities. Tiger was playing ping pong and Sega the night, before his 97 win. Rory's talking about rewatching BBC reruns, something that's mindless. I guess that's what this is for Bryson, going on a neighborhood walk for the boys. Yeah. But I think it's almost one of those things that's too close to home because you're out there with fans, pitching.
And you're ultimately going to think about it.
And so I think it's an interesting observation to watch this development because I could see him kind of being like, fuck it, who cares? I got my bag. I got my my majors. He's going to just keep trying to qualify, because I could also see him turning his YouTube channel into nothing but playing in these open qualifiers and, you know, riding these exemptions for the next 5 or 10 years. Because he won the US Open last year. So he's got 10 of those. He's got 5 and then 5 of the rest. He's going to snag another one in there somewhere. I mean, the guy's competing.
I think he's too good not to. He's too good not to.
Unless it does become all about the entertainment.
That's the one thing that could take him down, I think, in the end.
But even the Bryan Bros, like I said last week, he's another guy who got that exposure they got in YouTube, because people are like, oh my God, here's people on the PGA Tour, or, you know, who are already a pro golfer, and then they get, you know, he got his win. But those guys are fucking impressive too. So looking at those handicaps, it was kind of humbling to see how good most of them were. But then when I got to see where I would fall in, it was nice. Sorry, the DEA is dropping in on me.
Oh no, that's all good. Yeah, no, they're definitely impressive golfers. Like, you can't take they are pro level golfers. Yeah, I can. Like, it's obviously not as loud as it is there, but I can hear it enough. So no, the Bryan brothers are impressive as golfers. But let's be honest, their fame now isn't even on the backs of the way they play golf on YouTube. Their fame now is their banter as brothers on their videos together. Like, that's like, they are still good golfers, and true golf fans and people that actually take in the PGA and all that, like on a consistent basis, know who they are and understand their road.
But they just happen to be engaging guys. There's tons.
Their fame is based off of their entertainment value. Yeah, they take that away from them, they're gonna probably fade away again.
They were good enough. I mean, they could also just be. They could be sleeping in a car trying to grind it out on the Corn Ferry Tour, like a lot of guys are doing, like Ben Griffin was doing for a while. You know, trying to grind it out, tons of credit card debt. Let me go do something else for a while, come back, and we'll cash in. But before we get to the PGA Tour, let's start in the minor leagues. The Corn Ferry Tour, something that jumped out at me. A couple things. Blades Brown. Brown, you know, the 17-year-old who I want to say he shot 21 under, finished, you know, top 40 or whatever it was, because 21 under would only get you a top T40 at this fucking place. We'll talk in a second. Blades Brown, I think, is actually legit. And I think we're going to see, we've 100%. Seen it going back to when I was growing up. There's a kid, you know, named Ty Tryon. I think that was his name. And he went pro at like 16, 17 when I was in high school. That's who all the kids my age were like, man, that'd be fucking dope if you can do that. Flamed out. Right. You know, Akshay Bhatia, people thought that he was going to flame out, because I think more of them do than become Akshay Bhatias.
Well, I think the key is, I think they all do at some point approach that flame out point. It's all about how they rebound from and like face that. Like, some guys will face that and say, oh, I guess I'm not going to be as good as I was. Or other guys like Akshay are going to keep working. You know, it all depends on how you handle it.
And I think Blades is going to be the one that pushes through. His mom's a former WNBA star. He's got that pedigree. He grew up around that. We've seen that with, you know, sports kids. Steph Curry is a sports kid. Patrick Mahomes is a sports kid. The entire fucking McCaffrey family are Olympians and sports people. So with the pedigree there, it's going to follow through. But I think the bigger story on the Corn Ferry Tour this week was the course itself, the Texas Rangers Golf Club, which is famous for a couple reasons. One, yes, that Texas Rangers, the organization, it's kind of like there's the Dallas Cowboys Golf Club. Please clip that and get that for social media.
We can make that happen.
The Texas Rangers Golf Club, that, you know, Jamie can fact check me on this, but I think the course record is held by none other than Scotty Scheffler, who shot 59 there. And the winning score was 31 under. I think it was 30 or 31 under.
Outrageous.
Or maybe even 34 under. It was something stupid. But a couple of the guys were complaining. And when it gets to this point, I think you got to switch it up. I don't think you can have venues that are yielding these kind of scores, because I do think when they're like, hey, we should have just gone to a pitch and putt, it's a putting contest at that point. Right. I do think that with the variety of courses out there, and I think about it because a buddy of mine I'm going to keep this under my belt until it happens, but I'll tell you off screen, I just got an invite to a very exclusive club down in Texas to play a round of golf in the near future. And so hopefully there'll be more to come on that. But that's what I was thinking. I was like, why don't we go to this fucking place? Why don't we mix it up a little bit? And I get that the PGA Tour has their relationships, and it's kind of like this week with TPC Craig Ranch and the Byron Nelson, that I was trying to find something unique. Why is the Byron Nelson, other than it's one of the, you know, CJ Cup Byron Nelson, not Brian Nelson, which Kai Trump.
Exactly.
If you follow Kai Trump on social media, which of course I follow Kai Trump on social media, after I saw her doing videos with Bryson and Rory, I was like, and she's a Trump, so obviously there's going to be some sort of entertainment value, and she's got a decent swing. Anyways, but that's neither here nor there. She was trying to do, I think, like a paid spot, and she talked about heading down to the Brian Nelson, and I was like,
no, you did it.
You gotta have somebody help you with that. So I was trying to look up what's famous, other than it being one of two tournaments that actually has a golfer's name in it, the other one being the API, the Arnold Palmer. The only thing I can see about this is you can't really knock it because it's the single biggest charity driving philanthropic tournament on the schedule every year. So I guess this is the epitome of, if you really want to get into it all, this is what the PGA Tour is all about this week, the Byron Nelson. And they raised like $134 million for whatever local children's
so awesome.
And so maybe that can be the story this week. And you are going to have some big names there. But TPC Craig Ranch is another TPC, so it's another PGA Tour property. And as a fan, I really want to see some of this money, some of this $1.3 billion that's getting injected from the Fenway Group, and then whatever's going to come from the Saudis. I don't know how it works, but I'd like to see us in some new spots and some maybe more challenging courses. That, I keep going back to the Pete Dye course at French Lick. That's 8,100 from the tips, which I'm like, these are the guys who are flying at 290. Let them have at it.
Or even, why can't we be at Bethpage more? I know it's a public course, but why can't we be at Bethpage? Well, yeah, but I'm sure they could. Let's be honest, that's not going to stop them if they really wanted to.
You have a point, because we go to Torrey Pines every year, so I can't be like, oh, it's not going to be a special. We go to Quail Hollow every year, and they're going to a PGA. So, Bethpage, that's a good point, and especially when you do factor in that it's a state park. I'm sure that the organization,
the national park organization, like, come on, there's so many open opportunities.
Hey, listen, you could get Acorn Hills involved with their sustainability initiatives through the National Forestry Foundation. Every time you're spending $1 with them, they're planting a seedling. You are bringing us air. And look at those beautiful. We're actually selling our house. I'll tell you in a minute. But those white flowers that are blooming, this massive cherry tree in the backyard.
Got news for you. We cannot see them on the screen, but that's okay.
You can't see them.
No,
okay, you should see them. They're beautiful, and the white flowers are blooming. But we're selling the house soon. But yeah, acornhillsco.com. Thanks again, Nate. Sustainability is the way of the future. This is the Acorn Hills. Nice little bear on there.
So real fast, a quick correction on your Corn Ferry and Blades Brown. He actually
where did he finish?
He finished T2 at -27. At 27 under. So the winner was Kiefer at 30 under, and then Blades Brown was one of, looks like,
there you go.
5 guys at T2.
Okay.
At 27 under. So yeah, he had a final round of 8 under, which looks to be the third highest round. There was 2 guys at 10 under, 1 at 9 under for the final round, it looks like.
So if you think about it, and you're out there and you're a young buck, and you're like, I'm going to give this professional golf thing a try.
Right.
Just think about it. These are the guys who are just begging for a shot to just get in a PGA Tour event.
Right.
They're going out there shooting 30 under, 25 under.
On a course like anybody would, like the type of course that any of us could go play.
So let me see. Well, I got to do math here. But I mean, if somebody sat there and told you you're going to go shoot 65, 65, 65, 65, and not win.
Right.
Even outrageous. These guys are like, what the fuck are we talking about here? So yeah, maybe we can try to figure out a way. We'll lobby the PGA Tour. Somebody out there would furiously be explaining, that's not how it works. You see, listen, I don't care. We live in a world where you really can snap your fingers. We can 3D print housing for these fucking people if we need to. But we can figure out how to get some new variety in the PGA Tour schedule. You got places like, down in Florida with Panther National and JT's place opening up. I mean, I know that Michael Jordan doesn't want the Grove to be commercialized and overrun because that place is kind of sacred. But with the sheer glutton of golf courses that are out there, I wouldn't mind shaking it up and seeing some new venues.
Real fast, just because I thought about this, because I mentioned Bethpage, and this made me think of something I saw this weekend. Have you ever seen the process of what it takes to get a tee time at Bethpage these days? you seen what you have to do?
Still what it used to be. It's like, I think you can start at about 10 o'clock the night before,
Correct.
lining
You
your
gotta,
cars up, and somebody's got to be at the car at all times. And it's like
so
a 4 or
somebody's going to be at the
4:30
car at all
starter.
times. But yeah, and then between like 3 and 4 a.m. is when they come around car to car and hand out the tickets. And if you're not, like, you have to have everyone who's going to play in the car at that point.
Yeah.
And
You're
then
forced to
that's
got to be
how you
present to get a ticket.
right. And then at that point, that's even just enough to get you into the clubhouse to see like what time you get it. Half the
Right.
times you still might be getting an afternoon time at that point.
Right.
Like,
Go
I
back
saw
to the
that
car, sleep for a little bit.
yeah, I saw that just yesterday for the first time. I was like, geez, but you know what? I would do it.
I wouldn't.
You wouldn't see. So here's the thing.
It depends. Where are my kids? Like, where's my wife and kids? Am I out just like the boys?
You factor that in, then sure, that's something to factor in. But the way I would, if I knew that's what the plan was going to be,
heartbeat.
I'd go in with the idea that, okay, this is like the golf weekend trip.
Would you wear a diaper?
Like, no, I wouldn't wear a diaper.
Good answer. No, I think that'd be dope. You get somebody. We were just talking about how my buddy, one of my best friends in the world, going back to summer camp. All right, so 36 minutes in, first camp reference.
You've been doing good this year.
His name's Kevin, and he's from Bixby, Oklahoma. If you look up Bixby, okay, listen, you got the computers in front of you. Look up Bixby, Oklahoma, like Bixby High School, and look at their football field. And I think they actually have like one of those big jumbotrons. And remind yourselves that this is a high school football field. But
high school down there is different when it comes to high school football.
Stupid, dude. Anyways, we worked at a summer camp up in Maine together, and he came back the second year of employment, like as a counselor, with this 12-passenger like conversion van, the kind that has the back bench seat that folds down into a full bed. So we'd be rolling 4 deep on the bench seat in the back. Then we have 2 people in the captain's chairs in the middle, and then we have 2 people shotgun. That's what I'd be rolling up to Bethpage Black in. So that everybody has a nice comfy little thing. You got the screen up there. Maybe you bring an old N64 and you just rip GoldenEye the whole time.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like, I would make that part of the experience, the waiting in line. Like I'd go in with the idea that we're gonna sit around and and drink and whatever. I'm on
with basic bogeys this week. I'm filling in for Gary Carpenter at Gary Carpenter Music. Gary welcomed his first daughter into the world. I think first, maybe second. I don't know, but he had a daughter the other day. So shout out Gary. And TJ reached out and said, "You want to fill in to talk to their boy Rick Riley?" If you don't know Ricky Riley, he played in the U.S. Adaptive Open last year. I want to say the category is titled short stature or just stature. Short stature golfer, but guy's a fucking riot. I think he's like a +1 or whatever. The goal is to get me and Ricky on the course together, and I still don't think I think it's a lose-lose for me, but I think I have to do it anyway. But he's a super funny guy, and so if you find us later, tune into Basic Bogeys as well later this week. Anyway, did you find anything on Bixby High School's big ass screens? If you didn't, that's fine.
Oh no, I got distracted actually by things in Bixby. I saw they have a Duck Creek Casino.
Yes.
And that even though it's one of the fastest growing communities in Oklahoma, it's still just like basically a pasture type community. Like, when I say pasture, I mean like grass, sprays of land. It's known as the Garden City of Oklahoma.
That's enough time on Bixby, Oklahoma. Football, but I'd be rolling up to Bethpage in a big conversion van. Let's talk about the PGA Tour for a couple of minutes. We already talked about the Byron Nelson this week at TPC Craig Ranch. I want to say the last 6 or 7 years in a row, the score has been 20 under or better. It's been at TPC Craig Ranch since 2021. Obviously, it was canceled during COVID. So, tune in for a birdie fest, and I think Scotty Scheffler is actually going to win. I think he's been sitting on the sidelines for a little bit. Rory just got that little push, and it's kind of game on. For a guy like him, all of a sudden it takes two seconds to spotlight's off. It's like, hey, I'm still world number 1. Like, I'm still here, damn it. So look out for Scotty, especially with his course record 59. Ben Griffin. All right, let's touch on that team. Andrew Novak, we'll real quick get it out of the way. Andrew Novak, he runner up to JT and JT's return to glory, and then he turns around and wins at the Zurich. Same thing Patrick Cantlay did a few years ago, runner up at RBC, comes and wins in Zurich. Or at the Zurich, not in Zurich. They weren't in Switzerland. But the other half of that duo, Ben Griffin, is who you were more excited about. Why?
Yeah, well, because I've now for the last, I'd say, year or two, have been following Ben Griffin. He started just popping up on my For You page on TikTok. Then I started following him, and then because I subscribed, followed, whatever. He's just every week that he plays, he basically just does a vlog of prepping for the tournament that week. Like it's basically like life of a PGA Tour player heading into Thursday, basically. So he shows like the accommodations.
Is this on the TikTok, she said?
Yeah, it's on TikTok. So it's like he shows like the accommodations, his how he packs his suitcase with his outfits, like what he eats, what he packs for food to go out on the course. He talks about his practice rounds, who he's playing practice rounds with. He talks a little bit about kind of what he's expecting out of the course, but it's mainly more about like the life of a PGA player for that week. And it's very easy to watch. It has sucked me in every time I see it, and to see a guy like that that's putting in that much effort to get notice and get his first PGA win at the Zurich this week. Like that. I just want to celebrate that. I just want to celebrate that he's putting in the work in all areas, playing and in brand, and that's what you got to do today.
Well, I mean, and honestly, this is the Max Homa. Max Homa was there early, but this is the new tour person right here, and the full package. Akshay Bhatia has been in there. These guys understand that not all of them are going to be this. Some of them really are just going to want to earn that paycheck and be it on the course. But I mean, people want to express themselves in different ways. So good for them. I mean, it's kind of like Hudson Swafford, who, remember our boy Hudson, who PGA Tour guy for a long time, went to the original Live crew, got hurt. And I think he is now not with Live anymore. And he's trying to, he gave an interview where he talked about how he was in talks, asking, what do I need to do? What do I need to do? And was kind of getting dead end answers. I just saw on Instagram, because it always strikes me, what do these guys do when they're not? He's a big hunter. It's like Kevin Kisner. They don't want to. They want to hunt and fish. That's all they want to do. Golf is their craft. It's their, they just happen to be really good at it. Not all of them are driven like the goat in the background. You're Tom Brady.
Yeah.
But Ben Griffin's a cool story. He walked away from the game. He was a pro. He grew up in North Carolina, went to UNC. Both his parents Tar Heels. Grew up playing the UNC course. So actually, when he got on the UNC team, other players would kind of claim, bitch, and moan that it wasn't fair when they were trying to qualify for spots for tournaments, because he just knew the course like the back of his hand. I mean, he literally grew up playing there. Made a go as a pro for a while, and then just had to hang it up when to become a loan officer. And circumstances changed. And so I agree. It's the greatest story that could have been out of all the things. The only thing I wanted the brothers Højgaard, because I think that would have been a pretty fun story.
It would have been. I can't disagree with that. It's one of those weeks where it's like, I would have been happy with really whatever team won.
And then Jake Knapp and Frankie Sappin the third. I wanted Frankie Sappin because he's that guy. I think he shot 55 or 57 a couple of years ago, or 50, something like that, or 58. Okay. I think he shot 58 on the Korn Ferry Tour. And then there was some guy, Joe Shit the Ragman, shot a 57 out in Oklahoma, but he shot 58 or 59 on the Korn Ferry Tour last year. And he's a pretty fun story. But also, I placed 3 $1 bets Saturday night that would have. So we had $3 on the line. I put $1 on Rory and Shane to win, which would have got me, I think, 7. So I would have covered my bets right there. Great, we're happy. We were walking away, and then I thought, "Where's my long shots?" At $1, that would have given me 17 for Frankie Sappin and Jake Knapp, who were there. They were there at the end, and then homeboy dunks it in the water. Thanks. And then Jake Knapp they were already out of it at that point, but then he just fats a chip, like fats it straight into the bunker. And he even had that look of like,
kind of like when Shane Lowry topped his tee shot on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like, did that really just happen? And then I had the brothers Højgaard, $1 that would have gotten me 12. Sure. And so that's why I had groups up there at the end. And if it wasn't going to be them, that was a cool story. And shout out Ben Griffin. That was it's a really dope kind of way to come about it. He wears the sunglasses, not because Phil does it, because he used to see floaters, I guess. Interesting guy. And so, go give him a follow, because he needs our help.
Well, yeah, and it's not even like he was carried by it, because you mentioned how Novak's been playing good, so it's not even like he was carried by Novak this week. I'm looking at, because obviously, with when it's alternate shot, it's kind of hard to tell just by looking at the scorecard who contributed what, because they're obviously playing together. But when you look at the best ball, Well,
Nothing, keep going.
When you look at the best ball round from round 3, I mean, he contributed to 8 of the 16 holes. So like he was right there holding his own. He won. He contributed the last 3 holes of round 3 for them. So I mean, and he got them started off with a birdie at the start of the round. So like those are like the key holes you look for too, to either get the round started or to curb a potential downfall, because Novak did bogey 15th and he was able to save par to stop that blemish, which, in the long run, they won by 1 stroke. So at the end, so it's not like he was carried either. Like, just a lot of love for Ben Griffin to have a nice week this week.
Bigger story than that. I do sound like one of those infomercial guys. And if you order now, it only gets better.
And if you thought that was big.
But this is the sneaky good. And the other day I took a shot at My Golf Spy in one of my morning rants because they were in on the whole, who are we? How big of a story was this? Who was it who was getting screwed over? Oh, it was the Wesley Bryan thing. And they were like, is this really what it looked? Oh, shut the fuck up. Go back to doing your reviews and everything like that. I love it. I do like it, but the self-righteous thing just drives me nuts sometimes, where you're like, this morally, shut up. You're a bit like you're not a cheeky little comment section. You are a business yourself. So don't act above it. That just bothers me.
Yeah. You got to realize when you've hit that point where you got to shift your own expectations of what you've done. Yeah.
Go back to test. And instead why don't you go break down, what would have been a better, more creative way for them to do it? They should have done what would have been in the bag. And they should have gone through Wes Bryan's gear and maybe done if you really want to, right. If you really want to try to either support or show love, then support and show love. I just was commenting on it about the objective nature about people lighting their hair on fire. And it's kind of like, well, were you speeding when you weren't supposed to be speeding? Yeah. Well, I didn't really think that. I thought that was just kind of like, on the weekends where it was cool to speed. No, it says it right there. You shouldn't have done it.
Yeah, but they give you 5 mile an hour leeway, so I thought I'd be fine with 7 over. Like,
I do appreciate his approach and the appeal. Like, hey, this isn't an official event, but I do also appreciate the PGA Tour's response of they're a direct competitor. Like, how much clearer can we be? Like,
black and white, and it's in line with everything.
And we warrant you, so that's whatever. Yeah. How do we get on him?
I'm not really sure. You looked like you were having one thought, and then
My Golf Spy.
All
right, so one of the bigger stories from the weekend altogether was the golf ball that they won with. Have you seen this?
Oh, I actually did not see that. So I was away this weekend. That was my cousin's bachelor party.
Tell us about this right now. No, go. We're going to say no. Tell us about the bachelor party real quick. What do grown-ass men with 5 kids do at a bachelor party? I saw that you survived. If you don't, check out Morning Wood at Divots and Pivots. Give it a look. Morning Wood's beautiful. I love your Morning Wood. I rise with it every morning. But rise and shine with Morning Wood at Divots and Pivots. So talk to us about your bachelor party with the boys up in the where were we all?
So we were up in Guilford, New Hampshire, so we're not too far from Lake Winnipesaukee, the Lakes region up there, if you want to call it that. And I don't know if you noticed, we did lose your visual. If you did that on purpose, that's fine. Just wanted to let you know in case you did. Okay. But yeah, so it was first of all, what a grown man with 5 kids does.
Like, how many guys were there? What was the sleeping accommodation like?
So there was 8 of us. There was
solid number. You can get into trouble with 8 people.
Yeah. So there was obviously the bachelor, my cousin. He got the king bed room with the balcony because that's just what to do. So he had that. There was another 2 single rooms upstairs with like a queen size bed or whatever in them, and then there was one room with 4 bunk beds, and then there was a basement with a pull-out couch.
You top bunk?
So I was in the 4 bunk bed room. I got it to myself on the bottom queen size bed bunk because I won't say too much, but I'll put it this way. The people I would have been or the people I would have been sharing a room with, you would have enjoyed their company this weekend without saying too much.
What's that supposed to mean?
With how they like to chill and hang out.
Are they stoners?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's fine.
So they actually chose to
innuendo.
They actually all chose to sleep in the basement. They actually brought one of the mattresses from the bunk beds down to the basement and used the pull-out couch because there was a walk.
Because they were going to stay up late, get blazed, and watch like old shitty movies and laugh.
But they didn't do that in the end.
They all went to bed early, right? Because
everybody's
everybody's fucking old. Yeah, you get stoned and you go to bed. It doesn't work like you used to, boys. You're not going to be up at 3 a.m. watching Super Troopers ordering pizza.
But they were
You're going to be up at 3 a.m. taking a leak because you're old.
They were fun guys. We had a lot of fun. So, like, it's all good. But I actually impressed myself because Friday night, well, actually both nights, but specifically Friday night, it was about 2:00 in the morning, and me and my cousin are the last two soldiers awake for the night.
Soldiers.
And we're both I say that because we were both in it. It was a day, and we're just sitting there watching stand-up comedy, just laughing our asses off, like just at each other and at the comedy, and it was fantastic. And so the fact that I stayed up till 2 a.m., I was proud of myself. I impressed myself. We got up the next morning and went paintballing for 9:30 in the morning.
Paintballing, that's brilliant. I haven't done that for ages.
So let me explain the paintballing situation. There's a few stories out of it. It was pouring, raining all day long. We paintballed from 9:30 to 3:30. We paintballed from 9:30 to 6.5 hours. We paintballed for roughly. By the time we got did the safety briefing, got all of our gear, whatever, we got there just a little after 9:30. But we played paintball for 6.5 hours in the rain all day long, soaking wet in the mud. It was whatever. The rain you forget about after the second game. It was a ton of fun though. The funniest part though was because we were a bachelor party, they do the bachelor special for the last.
Were there
game.
Strippers?
No. For the last game of the day for your party, it's the bachelor versus the rest of the people there in the bachelor party. So in our case, it was 1v7.
It's like a King of the Mountain scenario.
Well, the rules are that even if the bachelor gets hit, he's not out. Yeah, he's not out. Awesome. He's not out until he gets everyone else out. All the regular rules apply to us. We get hit once, we're out.
Right.
But I'll tell you what.
I love it.
I'll tell you what though, because the referee did give the option. He said, tell me a word that's going to be your mercy word. You can call mercy whenever you want. We'll call it whatever. And my cousin said, you don't know the crowd I'm here with. I'm not giving you a mercy word. I'll never live that down. So he not only did that and then owned up to it and did not call mercy. We lit
like a
him
best New
up.
England story.
We lit him up outrageously. So it was all headshots. It was in the ear. It was all over the face. So much the ref 5 or 6 times had to walk over to him with a towel to wipe his mask off so he could see. We absolutely destroyed him. He got off and he was covered in welts. His neck had welts. He was just covered in orange paint. It was a fucking blast. But like I said, he took it. He absolutely took it. Yes, I know. You're laughing. I know. All the
better headshots than back shots, I guess.
Yeah,
all right. So Ben Griffin and Andrew Novak shot 61 on Saturday. And the biggest deal out of all this is because, like you pointed out on Sunday, you go to alternate shot, you go to foursomes. Yes. Not unlike your bachelor party. And so on Sunday, when they win, they were playing with a Max Fly golf ball.
Oh, that's interesting. I did not hear that.
It is the first tour victory for a Max Fly ball in decades. And here's the kicker: it's $39.99 at your local store. It's like the Max Fly X Tour. In my Golf Spy, that's why I actually brought it up. They did a pretty decent little write up on it because in 2023, when it was debuted, they did rank it probably the best bang for your buck. It's best performing, yada yada yada. I might give it a look because when I was in high school, we used to play Max Fly Revolution golf balls. That was like our team ball, and it was great ball. I appreciated it, but I would always get docky. We got 2 sleeves of balls per tournament, per 9-hole match. Really, it was 9 or 18. You got 2 sleeves, and that's what they just said. Stock them up for the 18. But that's neither here nor there. But you got docked 1 sleeve of balls if you didn't have the team shirt on. My junior year, I was finally able to join the golf team because golf went from being a spring sport to a fall sport in Florida. And so that freed me up from baseball. And but I had also was obsessed with Tin Cup. And so if you've ever seen Tin Cup, Roy McAvoy at the U.S. Open, or it might be the U.S. Open qualifier or the round where he gets his clubs back by playing with the shovel and the bat and everything, he's wearing like a button-down red Hawaiian shirt. And so I wore that the entire golf season. and got docked a sleeve of balls. I was very much an asshat on the course, but at the end of the season, I think my stroke average was 35 points something. So
so you were able to get away with it to some degrey.
Yeah, it was. I was a little bit cocky, but that's fine. It worked.
Yeah, real fast.
Ben Griffin, max fly ball, big deal.
I know. I like that. I'm going to look more into that.
It just adds to the story, like you said. Like he's kind of like us.
He's a regular Joe. Yeah. Real fast. Last few minutes here. Did you catch any of the NFL draft this weekend? Were you paying attention to it all? Because it's hard to watch it on TV.
You know what? I'll say this. I did. I don't watch shows. I don't watch movies. I honestly, I watch news and sports news and live sports events. And when it's the biggest event going on, I'm going to watch it. I love what the New England Patriots did with that. With Welcome to My World. He's purebred SEC football. He's going to watch the backside. We also went out and snagged another University of Georgia center because that seemed to work out pretty good the last time with David Andrews. So shout out to the Pats. They did their job. I think the Shedeur Sanders situation was almost a plant. I think they knew he was going to drop it. I think Drew Rosenhaus said, "Hey, let's go see where you can land without me. And if anybody grabs you, great. I'm still right here." But if you heard the story where I guess Shedeur was like, "Yeah, my dad was my agent, had to let him go, and then we brought in some help, and then that's how he got." Also, I guess Shiloh got signed by Tampa or whatever.
That's what Shiloh. Yeah, Shiloh was. It was him and Shiloh talking. Yeah.
Yeah, I call bullshit. I think Drew Rosenhaus was there the whole time. This is part of the show. I think it really was. We're not going to go in the first round, maybe even the first two rounds. Mel Kiper, I think, is the one that looks like the biggest asshat. And he's fine with it, and he's gonna make more than he misses. But the way that he was going all in on like how flabbergasted he was that Shedeur Sanders was falling just blew my mind.
See, but that's where I do disagree with you there, because I don't think Shedeur Sanders, if it was a plant and they knew this was happening, whatnot, he was not in on it. And if anyone else around,
but he also the tone he was taking was like something bad was happening. We all know this was supposed to happen. Shut up.
That's what I'm saying, because he not only did that, he built himself a draft room with legendary, literally painted everywhere in it. And the coffee table in front of the couch had the two mics as if he was gonna do an interview. Like, if he was in, if what you're saying is right and he was in on it, like that's why would he do that? Because that's just
what I'm getting at is he has to deal with some realities that we'll never have to comprehend. And he kind of said that in one of his interviews where it's like, I just because of who my dad is, I automatically have a whole like thing that people expect and comes with it. He's like, I gotta tell you, like nothing was given, whatever. I get all of that.
Well, shit, no.
What I'm saying is like, he's not.
His father took him to Colorado and said, my son's the quarterback. You can go to another school to the previous quarterback. I forget the poor guy's name, but like,
he did anything. He did anything any dad would have done.
I hate Shedeur Sanders so much. I do. I can't.
Well, I think it's going to be fun. Sink or swim. Then that's my point. Is all of this was a show, and I think even like his whole legendary, putting it out there. I think he leaned into it so hard, knowing he wasn't going to get taken, because that then keeps the spotlight. And his dad, prime time, he invented this whole. Not invented, but he was at the era. He was at the forefront
level.
Jordan had just done it with Nike, and then there's this deal. It's like, oh shit, like you are just bigger than everything. You're your own
football player to really do it.
Yeah. So whatever. I like what I saw out of the Pats.
Yes.
Travis Hunter, I think, was kind of funny. This is going to be one of those drafts where you're going to go, oh wait, no, he wasn't first. Who went first in that draft? Because I gotta tell you. Well, I know everybody knows that, but I'm saying like more than 10 years, nobody's gonna fucking remember that. It's just gonna be like, oh, that's right. That's the Cam Ward.
I like the way I don't think Cam Ward's talent level is at the same level as other first round. Number one overall pick quarterbacks. I'm not sure the talent's there yet. I think he can get there though, because I really like the way from what I've seen of videos of him, like in workouts and warm ups and all these things, the way he interviews, I like the way he carries himself. So I think he can do it.
And I think the trajectory where he was at Bumfuck You for 3 years, and then Miami, or where was he before Miami? Because he was at Bumfuck, and then
there was another
somewhere else, and then Miami, and then
no, it wasn't Vanderbilt.
Who gives a shit? Yeah, no, Cam Ward's the real deal, and I think that but Shedeur Sanders and the Travis Hunter. It was the best story of the draft. And let's be honest, the draft is a TV show. It has nothing to do with who gives a shit about who goes where. It's about a TV show. That's why it's set up the way it is. It's a highly entertaining thing. I loved it. Something that is becoming more entertaining for me that you probably didn't catch was the collegiate conference championship season. It was the SEC championships this weekend. Jackson Koivun, Koivun, if that name sounds familiar, University of Auburn. Last year he was a freshman, and he won the SEC championship, and then Auburn won the national title, taking down Florida along the way. And then this year he went back to back at the SEC. He's about to go pro. He's about to get his PGA. Well, not literally go pro. Luke Clanton got his 20th point in the PGA Tour Accelerated U program, which you get like 3 points if you make the cut here. You get 3 points if you're National Player of the Year. Well, Jackson Koivun got 369, 11 points automatically last year because he won Player of the Year. Like the Hogan, the Haskins, the Nicklaus, and the Mickelson, the big four. He swept all of them as a freshman. And I mean, he's just going to be the next thing. I think it goes to show what a stranglehold the PGA Tour has in all this. And also, Florida did end up winning the SEC team title, 17th in their storied history. They won the team. Oh, God, NCAA's 2 years ago. And they're looking to repeat and go to my hometown of Tallahassee and play at the Seminole Legacy Club and host a regional there. But there's your little NCAA minute. Stay tuned because I'm with Danny Rapp. The Dan Rappaport of Scratch Golf was talking about how
he went a deep dive on college this past week. I saw that.
He said he's going to go all in on the NCAAs for all the postseason, and I don't blame him. The amount of talent that we're seeing out of these guys, and also with NIL, like college golf is going to get reshaped. I used to think there's going to be more of these players jumping ship. I think now with NIL,
they're making more of these programs money with us.
Dude, well, I would much rather live in Athens for 2 or 3 years honing my craft in NCAA than having to be grinding it out on the Corn Ferry Tour. So college golf is going to get a lot more entertaining.
No, I think that because like you're alluding to there, it speaks to the potential longevity of some of these programs.
And that's the bench, and that's the deep bench for the PGA Tour right there. Exactly. And they locked it up with this accelerated program.
Yep. So I love that, and the future's looking bright. We'll see what happens this week with the CJ Cup as we get closer and closer to yet another major.
And Bud's qualifier on Monday.
But you know what? Do it. Share the link for the follow the score, and if you don't do it publicly, at least send it to me because I want to be rooting along right alongside with you.
No, so, I'll share it. I'll share it in the morning when I get up. Yeah.
Fantastic. All right. That's going to do it for us here on this Tuesday night, guys. This is Divots and Pivots. I'm Andrew LeDuc. This is Bud Copeland. And we thank that Sports Podcast Network. We thank Golfer Gang. And we thank Acorn Hills, as always. We love you guys. Stay classy and enjoy.